welcome back. Now, this is going to be a ad clinic. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you, take you through a process that I use every single time that I sit down to create an ad or to my look at an ad to critique it or to make it better. I'm looking for some very specific things, and I'm going to share those with you as they're kind of like the foundation to creating compelling direct response ads. And I call them the 7-question test for writing compelling ads. And it's really just 7 questions that I ask every time I sit down. If I'm looking at an ad, I'm in my mind going through these 7 questions. So what I'd love for you to do is think about or look at the ad that you're using to compel your prospects to call you, or use this as a guideline for creating the ad that we're going to use to compel your prospects to call you. So right now you've been doing a lot of work to get ready for this moment where we're actually going to create the ads. So let's start with our 7-question test. Question number 1 is, have I selected a single target market? Now, you hear me say that again and again and again. And the reason that I do is because once you've selected a target market, it makes it so much easier for you to tap into the conversations that are going on in their mind. It makes it easier for you to understand what's going to compel somebody to call you. And remember, what we're looking to do is compel them. We're not looking to convince them to do anything. We want to tap into that already existing motivation that they have regarding the information that they need to start the process of doing whatever it is that you do. So, have I selected a single target market? I'm going to show you some samples of some ads here, and we'll take a look and talk about where they are and are not using these 7 questions. So this was a postcard that one of the members at our Platinum event just a couple of weeks ago had submitted for the ad clinic that we did in Phoenix. So when we look at the postcard here, we look at the front of this, we see that there's a young girl in school, and we see the headline on the front of the postcard: great job, Annie, you had perfect attendance this year. How'd your parents make that happen? And then the logo with the owl and the pencil there. Now, when you look at this, and the reason I'm pointing it out is that every element of an ad is either supporting your main compelling message, it's speaking directly to your target audience, or it's not. It's confusing the issue. So, the consensus when we were talking about this ad in the group was that this ad sort of looked like an ad for a tutoring service. It looked like something where you could send your kids after school to get them excited about school. But in reality, this was an ad for a chiropractor. This is the back of the postcard here. So you see at the very top, Cafe of Life Chiropractic and Wellness Center. Now, when we look at this, we had a whole discussion about it. And when the headline of the ad, Cafe of Life Chiropractic and Wellness Center, is kind of all about them. But the more important thing that sort of illustrates what I'm talking about with selecting a single target market is that within the body here, we start talking about that they can help people with ADD or ADHD. They can help kids with asthma, with allergies, with colitis or Crohn's disease, with ear infections, headaches and migraines, sensory disorders, and many other conditions. Now, it's trying to convey the message that we can help you or your child with all kinds of different things, but it does it at the expense of being crystal clear to one target audience. So in the discussion that we had about the most effective thing, or the thing that they could do that would be a significant difference for someone, was in helping their kids with ear infections. So what we talked about was turning this into a postcard that was very specific about only ear infections, and how if you had, instead of a cafeoflifeatlanta.com URL, there was a website called nomoreearinfections.com, and it talked only about a free report that you could get if your child has recurring ear infections. Not doing anything other, not trying to convince people to come in for a test, or to come in for any type of an adjustment or complimentary consultation, anything like that. The only thing that we want to do is to get those invisible prospects. Remember, we talked about the difference between visible prospects and invisible prospects. Parents of children with ear infections are invisible prospects, so we have to get in front of them with a message that's already on the front of their mind. And so if a parent with a child with an ear infection were to see something that offered some hope or some answers as to how to cure your child of recurring ear infections, or something along those lines, offering valuable information to solve a problem or to enter a conversation that's already going on in their mind, that's going to be so much more compelling. So we had a whole conversation about that, and you can see how just those two things, when you select a single target market, it makes it easy to create something that is compelling only to that person. So we always want to look at, if you've got a whole list of people that you can help, that we focus in on one of them at a time. Now, question number 2 is, do I have a compelling offer? So our compelling offer is what's going to get somebody to raise their hand. And that's going to be based on what we talked about when we went through the exercise to understand the conversations that are already going on in your prospect's mind. And those would be the clues as to what would make somebody compelled to raise their hand. So we've been talking about all through this exercise our target market of lakefront homeowners in Winter Haven, Florida. And what's the conversation that's already going on in the mind of your prospect? And we mentioned that the conversation would be, I wonder how much my house is worth. That's kind of the beginning conversation. That's the overriding thing. So when we offer a headline, free July 2012 report on Winter Haven lakefront house prices, and it's delivered right to the door, right to the mailbox of the 2,180 lakefront homeowners in Winter Haven, we've selected a single target market, and we've got a compelling offer where they can get their free report by either calling and listening to a free recorded message, or going to winterhavenlakefrontreport.com to pick up their report. So that's how easy it can be. It's very simple, especially when you have visible prospects like the lakefront homeowners. Now, question number 3 is, does my headline engage my target audience? See, the headline of the ad, the big portion at the top, is really the part of the ad that gets your prospect's attention and lets them know, oh, this might be for me. This is something that I should pay attention to. So, we talked about the lakefront homeowners as one possible target audience, the visible prospects, and then we talked about lakefront home buyers being more of an invisible prospect. But here is an ad that we run in the Homes and Land magazine and the real estate publications that we use to find those invisible prospects of buyers. So when you're looking through that Homes magazine and you see a half-page ad like this with a headline, free summer 2012 guide to Winter Haven area lakefront house prices, plus get weekly updates of all the new lakefront listings. They can find out what lakefront homes are selling for, get updates on all the new listings as soon as they come on the market. They just go to freelakefrontguide.com and get their copy, or call the the phone number and listen to a 24-hour free recorded message. We've got a picture of a beautiful lakefront there. So all of this cues people that this is for you if you're looking for a lakefront home. So everything about it is kind of cueing them that this is for you. And we can only do that because we've selected a single target market. Now, we could do that same thing if we were looking for condo buyers. We could put a picture of a condo in there and say, free summer 2012 guide to Winter Haven area condo prices. Or if we were looking for people who were looking for horse farms, we could say free summer 2012 guide to Winter Haven area horse farm prices, or Orange Grove prices, or whatever target market we could imagine. Some of these are very, very versatile. And you'll see that the formats that I use, and I'm going to give you templates for these formats that you can use, are very, very similar. They're very versatile. You can change the words and the pictures, but the format always looks like valuable information. And that's our question number 4. Does it look like valuable information, or does it look like an ad? Now, there's something very important to realize here, and that is that when people are looking through publications, they are looking for valuable information. They're not looking for ads. When people are reading the newspaper, they're looking for the articles. Same thing when they're looking through magazines. And part of our brain is actually tasked with helping us filter out those things. So the cues to your brain that something is an ad are things like having a big logo in there, things like having starbursts, lots of exclamation points, having lots of different colors and overly graphic design. Something that looks like an ad is perceived differently than something that looks like news. So let me show you a couple of examples. Here's one of the gentlemen in our case study program who is a painting service. But when you look at this ad right here, does this look like an ad? Absolutely it does. It looks like all of the other ads because it's got the name of the company right there. It's got the logo. It's the center of the attention. Experience the different of a truly serving service business. And I mean, it's all great intention, but it looks like an ad, and your brain perceives something differently when it knows that it is an ad. Here's another one. This is another gentleman in our program. The Reeves Construction Roofing, Siding, and Gutters. Storm damage. If you had hail, you have hail damage. Now, these guys have a very compelling offer. They've got a very specific target audience. I've been talking with Jeff all through the case study program here, and you're going to see the evolution of this because we'll show you what actually comes of some of these examples here when I show you in our second ad clinic the before and afters of people who are actually applying this to their own businesses here. So this, if somebody received this along with all of the other flyers from people from other construction companies that are vying for the same business, they're all sending a different looking flyer that's essentially the same thing, saying choose me for your free roof replacement, because all of these are based on the fact that roofs can be replaced by the insurance companies with very little cost to the homeowners. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to elevate the reception of these. When somebody sees another flyer, they just lay all the flyers out on the table, and it doesn't, there's no real difference between any of them. Jeff had said himself that they're all saying the same message. So coincidentally, just when I was talking with Jeff, we got in the mail, because we spend the summers in Canada, our absentee ballots for the elections coming up here. That the look at how official this envelope looks. It looks like something that is very important. And when you look at the ad there, we've got the same thing, that everything looks the same. But when we've got the this important looking envelope, it's perceived very differently. And so I was thinking about for Jeff, that what if there were an envelope that arrived that looked very official like that, that started out with, free roof replacement claim kit or something in the envelope, that looked like this is the process to start the ball rolling on getting your roof replaced. And we'll talk a lot about the intention of what that is supposed to do, what the communication that Jeff would like to have with people, and when it's perceived as valuable information, as something that they're entitled to, that this is how we start the process here, it might be more valuable. And now here's an example of the back of that envelope. And I can imagine something very similar for Jeff going to homeowners after the storm has arrived, with an envelope with a cover letter and maybe a picture of the affected area that's been approved for roof replacements by the following insurance companies, and listing all the companies that insure homes in that neighborhood. So when you look at things like this, there's a lot of psychology going on, and how can we make something seem like valuable information, elevate the status that it gets in the mind of the people who are reading it. So pay attention in the future here as we talk a little bit more about that. But look at your ads, look at the things that you're doing right now, and ask yourself, does this look like an ad, or does it look like valuable information? And even one little thing can tip something off to make it not look as official as it could, to make it not look as important as it could. Question number 5 is, am I using conversational language? The important thing about this is that we want to imagine that you're talking to one prospect at a time, not that you're talking to the whole group. There's a difference between broadcasting a message to an audience and speaking to one person. Often the tendency that we have when we're creating ads is to imagine that we're broadcasting this message to a stadium full of people, when the reality is, especially with print ads or any type of reading type of media, they're reading it one person at a time. It's actually a very intimate form of communication. So we want to only speak to one person at a time. And we want to do it in a really kind of conversational way. Here's an example of an ad that we're currently running in Winter Haven here. This is for a new reverse mortgage program that allows seniors over the age of 62 to buy homes in Florida with 50% down and live in the house with no monthly payment for the rest of their life, so as long as they live in the house. So when we put this ad in here, just listen to how conversational it sounds. We've got 2 pictures of an identical house up there, and the headline is, can you spot the $62,500 difference in these identical Winter Haven lakefront homes? Did you spot it? Here's a hint. It isn't the roofing shingles or the special nails. It isn't the gold-plated faucets or anything you could even see with the naked eye. The difference between these identical Winter Haven homes is that any U.S. citizen over 62 years old can buy this $125,000 lakefront home with $62,500 and no monthly payment as long as they live in the house. For instance, the house in this picture above qualifies for the program. It's a beautiful 2-bedroom lakefront home right here in Winter Haven. It's on over half an acre with a sandy beach and mature oak trees. Now, do you hear how conversational this sounds? It sounds just like you would say to somebody if you were having a conversation with them. Then we go on to explain just a little bit about what this is and offer them the opportunity to get a free report with all the details. So it's easy to find out more information about this government-backed mortgage program. You can get a free report with all the details by going to halfpriceretirementhomes.com or just call the 800 number for a 24-hour free recorded message. And we've got a very compelling URL, halfpriceretirementhomes.com. That sounds pretty compelling to the people who are 62 years or older or coming to Florida to buy their retirement homes in Winter Haven. It's a pretty compelling offer, and we've done it in a very sort of compelling way. So when we look at this is a very successful ad that we've been running now, and I'm excited that it's a winner, and we're rerunning it again and again. And that's what's great about once you create something that addresses all of these 7 questions. Once you create something that's a compelling engine, something that's going to attract your ideal prospects, you can run it again and again and again, and it's very easy. Question number 6, is it absolutely clear what I'm asking them to do next? See, so often people run ads, they create ads that are that leave it up to the prospects to take the initiative, and just, the most compelling thing that we hear people say is, call us today. And, but they're not saying to call for anything specifically. We're not saying what to say when you call, or what to ask for when you call, or who to talk to when you call. We want to make it absolutely clear what we're asking them to do next, because nobody likes to take the initiative, so unless they're perfectly instructed to do so. See, that's one of the advantages that we have, is the knowledge that people are silently begging to be led. And if you lead them, if you give them crystal clear instructions, they're more than happy to oblige. They're more than happy to follow those instructions, especially if it's something that's compelling to them, if it's something that's going to be driven by their self-interest. Here's an example. This was an ad that I used as a real estate agent. I had this format down to sell individual homes very quickly. We would tell a story and tell the truth about an ad. And you'll notice these formats here again, with the picture, the headline, the 2 columns that look very much like a feature story in the newspaper rather than an ad. But here was one: we need to sell our Kings Mill townhouse this weekend, and we're willing to sell it for $5,000 below current market value. And I'll tell you the story about what happened with this, because it ends up selling for more than market value. But we, put the date line here, Georgetown. My name is Tim Alberts. My wife and I have lived in Georgetown for 3 years now, and it's always been our dream to get a house in the country. Well, last weekend we found the house of our dreams, and we made an offer to buy it. Here's our dilemma. We had to make our offer conditional on selling our Kings Mill townhouse, and we only have 2 weeks to get it sold. We have a beautiful Holly model with a finished walkout basement and a big deck off the kitchen where we sit and watch the sunset over the escarpment. My wife is a bit of a perfectionist, and our townhouse is immaculate. If we had more time, we'd be asking $147,900, and it would probably sell for $145,000. I know this because the last 2 Holly models sold for $142,500 and $142,000, but they didn't have finished basements or a deck. Anyway, that's what we'd do if we had more time, but we don't. We need to sell our house this weekend. That's why we've decided to sell it for $139,900, so we can be sure to sell it in time to get the house we really want. We're having an open house this Sunday at 2 p.m. sharp, and we'll be accepting offers on Sunday night after the open house. Our real estate agent has set up a recorded message with all the details about our house and directions on how to get here. You just need to call 1-800, or if you'd like to see it after the open house, you can call our real estate agent. His name is Dean Jackson, and he's with Royal LePage. To be fair to everyone, though, we've agreed not to show the townhouse before Sunday. Now, this was a very successful ad. We ended up selling this townhouse. We had 18 couples come through the open house. We had 3 offers on the property, and we ended up selling it for $147,000. So market value prevailed. We ended up getting a little bit more than what it may have sold for otherwise, but we did, in a very compelling way, addressed all of those 7 questions here, and we made it very specific on what to do next. We told them exactly what to do, that we'd be having an open house, but all you need to do is call this recorded message to get all of the details and the directions to get there. And very successful. That's an example of something that worked. Now here's this format, looks very familiar, and I did this, lots of times. We use it again and again, this format. But here was another situation with a developer in Muskoka, which is a little bit further outside of Toronto, but he had 6 building lots remaining in a development, and it was after Labor Day, and so we went through the process of doing this same ad. I need to sell these last 6 Muskoka home sites in the next 30 days, and I'm willing to sell them for 33% below their current appraised value. And I had him get the properties actually appraised, because he truly was selling them for below their appraised value, just to get the money so that he could make a lump payment, balloon payment on another property that he had an option on. And so he ended up, over the next 2 weekends, selling all 6 of those lots. But we had specific instructions. Again, I've had each of the lots appraised this week, and if you call my office voicemail, another way of saying a free recorded message, I'll send you an information package with a copy of the appraisal certificates, a survey of the lots, and a detailed map of how to get there. And then he went up to the property 2 weekends and ended up selling all of those lots. So, after he had unsuccessfully tried to sell them with big ads that looked like ads all summer long, with big starbursts that said blowout sale, 33% off, all that kind of stuff, which, until you say relative to what, we said the important thing was knowing that it was the September 1996 appraised value. That made it current. That gave you a reality of what you were using as the benchmark there. So then question number 7 is, have I used the words free recorded message and a compelling URL? See, often when you look at this, using just the words free recorded message lets people know that it's safe to call. They can call anytime. They've always got their cell phone right there beside them. And having a URL that is outwardly focused, that reinforces the benefit that people are going to get by going to your website, that's going to increase the response that you get. So let's put this ad right here to the 7-question test. And this is what I would recommend every time you sit down to look at your ads. Have we selected a single target market? Yes, our target market is U.S. citizens over 62 years old looking for homes in Winter Haven, Florida. That's our target audience. Do we have a compelling offer? The opportunity to buy half-price retirement homes and getting more information easily on how to do that, that's a pretty compelling offer for our target audience. Do we have an engaging headline? Can you spot the $62,500 difference in these identical Winter Haven lakefront homes? You'd have to read that to find out what the difference is. Does it look like valuable information, or does it look like an ad? Now you notice there's no logos in this ad, there's no starbursts, there's nothing but the information, just the valuable information. At the very bottom of the ad, we've got Julie Matthews' information there, because she's the real estate agent that is running the ad, and it's required that we have the information on there. But if it wasn't required, I wouldn't even put it on there, because it's not relevant. It doesn't matter who's running the ad in a lot of cases. If you are something that's not a regulated industry where you're required to have identifying information, then why not just run information with just a compelling URL on there that looks like valuable information? Are we using conversational language? Remember, we're just talking to one person at a time. That's all we can ask as you go through, creating your advertising here. Think, what would you say to somebody if you had the opportunity to sit right down with them? You imagine that your headline is the way that you get their attention. You can imagine if you're sitting in a cafe and somebody sits down beside you who's, over 62 years old, and they're looking at a Homes magazine, and you take out of your pocket two pictures and you lay them right down on the table and you say, can you spot the $62,500 difference in these identical Winter Haven lakefront homes? And you would imagine that they would look at you and you could go on and have this conversation with them. Do you have a clear next step? Our clear next step here is to call and listen to the free recorded message, or go to our halfpriceretirementhomes.com website. Number 7, have we used the words free recorded message, and do we have a compelling URL? And we've got both of them here. We've got the free recorded message, and we've got the halfpriceretirementhomes.com URL. So we've got all 7 of these are addressed, and that's what it looks like when you do that. Now, I'm showing you live ads here, and I'm just going through this, and I'm just imagining now everybody calling and filling out information for Julie Matthews. So I'd ask if you want to go and look at Half Price Retirement Homes. That's great. I'll put up what we send for people, but do me a favor and don't go in and confuse poor Julie with all kinds of requests for her Half Price Retirement Homes report. I'll put it up here for you, but go ahead and look at the URL if you want to, and just keep these 7 questions in mind here as you're going through your ad creation process. And then I'd love to see what you come up with. If you're ready to give it a try, our next module is going to give you the templates and walk you through the process of creating an ad for you. And I'm really excited to see what you come up with. I just got an email from a gentleman who's going through our case study program, who was very excited that he put a headline on his ad. He ran it in a publication in a 50+ section of the newspaper, and he got, I believe, 180 something calls so far on his ad, which was fascinating to him because he said his highest record before was 40 calls on an ad. So I'm very excited to see what you can do, and stay tuned and look for the templates and the instructions on how to go ahead and create your compelling ads.